Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me again on this overcast, but it's brightening, very still and rather pleasant January day. What have we got for you today? We have got a 2003 X350 Jaguar XJR. We're going to take it out on the road today, do a little bit of a road test for you, so that if it is a car that you know you have an interest in, or perhaps you'd look at buying in the future, you know, we can perhaps tell you a little bit about it and give you an idea of how these things perform on the road. What can I tell you about this car? As I say, it's a 2003 XJR. It's a Japanese import, this car, so it has spent some of its life in Japan and been re-imported. A lot of people are doing that now because the condition of the Japanese cars, because they don't have the salt on the road and things like that, can often be better than an equivalent UK car. So a lot of people look at buying these Japanese imports now, particularly with the age that they are. As I say, you know, the condition can often be better than that of a UK car. Not always the case, but I think that's why people are drawn to them. So as I say, this one's a 2003 XJR. We've got the 4.2 supercharged V8, 395 brake horsepower, around 400 foot-pounds of torque, so lots of power, 6-speed automatic gearbox. Underpinnings are pretty much standard X350, you know, you've got the air suspension, as I say, same gearbox. The interior again is just standard XJ across the range, really, and I suppose the only differences come with how it's been specified from new. You know, in this one we've got heated seats, obviously electric windows standard, folding mirrors, electric mirrors. We've got adaptive cruise control on this one, standard. They come with the traction control. We've got the sport mode on the gearbox, climate control, heated front screen, heated rear screen, obviously. So yeah, specifications, other than a few additional options that have been specified when new, are ordinarily pretty much the same across the board. You can obviously ask for things like sunroof. This one doesn't have a sunroof. You know, rear sun blind, again, this one doesn't have it, but some of them have it. Depends upon how you specify it when new. So we're going to get it out on the road and see how it drives, see how it performs. We can kind of compare it to the standard XJ that we did a road test on a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, let's get it out on the road and see how it performs. Okay, let's do that. So initially, you know, just pulling away there and getting up to speed, there's no discernible difference with the XJR over the standard XJ. Nice smooth power delivery, smooth changes on the gearbox, which is what you want, what you expect. There shouldn't really be any notchiness or clunkiness or any discernible, you know, movement through the gears when the gearbox is changing. It should always be nice and smooth, which this one is. Again, the suspension setup is pretty much the same as the standard XJ, so you know, it's nice and smooth, floaty. Not as floaty as the earlier cars, the steel-bodied cars, but yeah, that distinctive Jaguar XJ ride, which is, you know, one of the plus points of these cars. I love the way that they, you know, that they soak up the bumps and deal with all the undulations in the road. Really gives you a nice smooth ride. In terms of fuel consumption, you know, we're just pottering around town now, and in the XJR I mean, I have owned these cars in the past and run them as dailies, if you like, and you know, around town, pottering, you know, a couple of A to Bs, you're realistically going to be looking around about 19 to 20, 21 to the gallon, you know. Not a lot, but again, you don't expect a lot from a car of this size and with this power and this engine type. Obviously, on a run, excuse me, you're probably going to get 27, 28, I would imagine, if you drive at a steady 70, 80 mile per hour. I would suggest that you'd see 27, 28 miles per gallon. Visibility in these, I always think, is great. You know, there's a lot of glass area compared to a more modern car. I mean, obviously this is an early 2000s car, 21 years old now, so it's certainly not a modern car, but compared to a new car, I think the visibility is great. You don't have any sort of intrusion into your vision from the A-pillars and things like that. For such a big car, I always think they're very easy to manoeuvre. You know, so don't, you know, when people see them, they sort of say, oh, it's huge, you know, they're such a big car. But yes, they are, but they don't feel particularly big when you're driving them and when you're manoeuvring them. So that's nice. Steering's nicely weighted, not too heavy, not too light. And I think even on these, I find when you get up to speed in them, you know, they don't become vague. You know, there's always that feedback in the steering, and it's nice and precise. You know, they go where you want them to go. They go where you point them. And for a big car, you know, a big executive car, that's quite nice to have that. One thing I do notice about these XJs, I drove one yesterday, and it came to mind. And again, I've just thought the same thing in this one. I find the indicator stalks and the stalks for the windscreen wipers and the headlights, I find them difficult to see. I'm always sort of peering over the steering wheel to try and read the controls. So that's not brilliant. That's a bit of a minus point. Again, that might be just my driving position, you know, but that's one thing I find when I'm driving them is sometimes they're a bit difficult to read. You know, the stalks, the control stalks. Again, we're up to 50 mile an hour there. I'll put the cruise control on. One of my favourite things about Jaguars of this vintage is the cruise controls. So I think I mentioned this in the previous XJ video. They're so simple, and I find them so easy to use. They're on, they're off. There's no messing about looking for switches and trying to set things. You know, it's always activated, so it's just set and cancel, and that's pretty much it. This one has an adaptive cruise control, so you can adjust the distance from the car in front. You know, it'll adjust itself, and which is nice. But again, yeah, the cruise control, I find a real bonus in these XJs of this vintage, and the S-types, the same system on those. Really user friendly. We'll take it on to a couple of 50 mile an hour roads now, just to get up a bit of speed, and then we'll take it out onto the motorway and see how it performs at motorway speed. But so far, just as you'd expect of a Jaguar XJ, the fact that we're in the XJR, you know, you wouldn't know you're in the XJR, just general driving, it's very, very similar to the standard XJ. Obviously the diesel versions and the 6-cylinder versions you're obviously going to get difference in power delivery and things like that. You know, obviously the way those engines behave is different to the V8s. But certainly driving this now and driving the V8 that we tested a couple of weeks ago, as I say, general driving, you could almost, apart from the colour of the seats and things like that, you could almost be in the same car. But the difference with the XJR, I'm just going to put my foot down a little bit, and we're within a couple of seconds, we're well in excess of what we should be doing. There's so much torque, so much power. That really is the difference in the XJR between the standard XJ. As I say, there's 400 foot-pounds of torque, and I think that's what these cars are really all about. As I say, if you want to overtake, you want to build up speed quickly, they're absolutely brilliant. You know, the torque delivery the power delivery is so smooth, it's almost endless. With the supercharger, you've no lag like you have with turbos and things like that. It's instant power, and that's where these things put a smile on your face over a standard XJ. Don't get me wrong, the standard XJs are lovely and they're powerful enough for most people, but if you just want that little bit extra, go for the XJR, because I mean that's pushing you back in the seat, you know, and I'm not going mad there. That's just perhaps 30-40% throttle, and the car just goes. So yeah, that's what these things are all about, I think. But let's get it out onto the motorway and see how it performs at a cruising speed. Okay, so we're coming up to the motorway junction now. We'll take it out onto the motorway, see how it performs at motorway speeds. Brakes are nice and progressive, just the right amount of pedal travel. Okay, so onto the motorway slip road. I mean, I daren't give it too much. The roads are a little bit greasy this morning, but we're up to speed there within a couple of seconds. 25% throttle. I mean, they're so quick for such a big car. Now let's just pop the cruise control on. Now the first thing I notice about this one, and again every car of 20 years old is different. First thing I'm noticing about this one is there is a little bit of wind noise, perhaps over and above what you might expect. That could be a worn door seal or something like that. As I say, you've got to remember that these cars are 20 years old now, the oldest ones, and whichever car you look at, if you're looking at a car to purchase, unless you're very, very fortunate to find a perfect car, and I don't think the perfect car when they're 20 years old really exists, they're all going to have their own little idiosyncrasies and imperfections and things like that. They're all going to be slightly different. But yeah, the first thing I'm noticing there is a little bit of wind noise, and it's not a particularly windy day. It's a nice still day. It's not intrusive. It's not going to spoil your drive or your experience of the car, but it is there. But again, you know, driving now on the motorway, unless you knew, you know, if it didn't have the XJR badges on, it feels just like a standard XJ. So we're at 65 miles per hour there. The XJR comes into its own. I'll just there. Now if I give it, I mean, wow, we're well in excess of the speed limit there. I'm bringing it right back down, and that is how quick it is. You could hear the supercharger start to whine there, and that's what sort of becomes addictive with these. It does give you that little bit of an adrenaline rush. You know, they're so quick, instant power, and yeah, I mean, this will run on to 155 miles per hour limited. I don't know what they'll do if they're unlimited, but they're a quick car, and that is the difference. It's literally that supercharger is the difference between the XJR and the XJ, and it shows when you really start to use it. I mean, it becomes addictive. You just want to drive it quickly. Obviously, in this country, you know, we're limited. We can't do that. But if you were to, you know, go across Europe or whatever, one of these would be fantastic as a long distance GT, if you like. I know it's just an executive saloon, but it almost falls into that GT category. You could cover a lot of ground very, very quickly in one of these, and I think really that's what they're all about. You know, it's a fabulous engine, and a really great car. I love them. They're great. So we're back onto the A roads now. We'll see how it performs on the Twisties. You know, it's nice and sure-footed. You know, just pushing it into a bend there. As I say, it doesn't feel like a big, heavy car. It doesn't wallow. It doesn't roll. So we have got the option of the sport mode on the gearbox as well. I'll be honest with you, unless you're going to drive like an absolute lunatic, I don't think you'd ever use it. I mean, as I say, I've owned a lot of these cars over the years. Some I've used as daily drivers, as I said earlier, and I don't think I ever use the sport mode on the gearbox. There isn't really a need for it, as I say, unless you're going to go absolutely hell for leather everywhere. There's more than enough power for the, you know, for the car to get you along quickly just using the standard gearbox mode. I mean, I've put it into the sport mode there now, and there is a difference. You know, there is a difference. It seems to be getting us along the road that little bit more briskly. So we're on a twisty B road now. I'm pushing along a little bit more than I should be doing, really. But yeah, as I said earlier, it's nice and sure-footed. It's not rolling too much in the corners. Anything you can hear is probably a bit of my equipment rolling around in the back there. This one has the big XJR brakes on it, so it pulls up really nicely, you know, more than enough braking power. That's something that's different to the standard XJ. You know, we've got a lot more braking power in the R. Terrible road surfaces, which don't help. But yeah, I mean, it's almost too quick, really, for, you know, as soon as you give it any throttle, you're straight back off again and on the brake, and so it doesn't lend. There's almost too much power, if you like, for UK roads. As soon as you start using that power, you're straight on the brake, and you kind of lose that. You know, the idea of a Jaguar XJ to me is a smooth, progressive drive, comfort. Once you start using this XJR, I mean, particularly we're in the sport mode here, as I say, you know, you on and off that throttle and on and off the brake. You know, it's too powerful. I really do think, as I say, it's a cross-continent cruiser, isn't it? It's a car to cover big distances quickly. I really think that's what it's for, and as I say, it does that brilliantly. It does that brilliantly. Mentioned in a previous video we did on the XK8, we did a little road test on an XK8, and I think I mentioned in that video about a manual gearbox. Again, I'm not a manual. I used to be, but now, you know, automatic gearboxes have improved so much, and you know, we've got 6, 7, 8, 9 speed automatic gearboxes nowadays. I would not go back to a manual car for everyday driving. But again, driving this XJR, and with the power that it's got, would a manual gearbox option have been nice? Yes, possibly. When you start pressing on and you start becoming more involved in the drive, you can't help but think, oh, you know, a manual gearbox would be nice in this. And yes, you can use the Jaguar and select the gears that way, but it's not the same. So just deselecting the sport mode now. It's nice to have it there, I suppose, if you really want to press on, but as I say, I never use it. I never use it. I don't think you ever really need to use it, you know, when you're just partaking in general driving. So, what have we learnt having driven this XJR for 15-20 miles, 20 minutes, half an hour? What can I tell you about it? What conclusions have we drawn? It's very definitely a Jaguar XJ. The way it drives, the way it rides, the interior, the specification, standard Jaguar XJ. If it wasn't for the badges on the gear shift and the boot lid, you wouldn't really know that you were driving the R. Pretty much feels like a standard Jaguar XJ. The difference really comes when you start to press on, when you start to use that available power from the supercharged V8. I mean, that's where it's a different animal completely. I think really it is a cross-continent cruising car. You know, it's a car for covering those distances quickly, and if it's that sort of thing you want, and you want to carry 4 people and a bit of luggage, is there anything better? You know, probably not in this price bracket. When you look at what you're paying for a car of this type and what you're getting, I think the phenomenal value for money. I don't think you're going to lose anything in terms of value. I think they're only going to go one way now, value wise. So they're a great proposition. Would I particularly look for an XJR over a standard XJ? It really depends upon what you want, I suppose. Whilst the cars are very similar, they're also very different. If you really hanker for an XJR, I don't think a standard XJ is the car for you. Go for an XJR. If you just want a Jaguar XJ, I think any of them are great. I love them. I think they're a fabulous car, and as I say, I think what you get for your money is incredible. There are good ones, there are bad ones out there, guys, so do your homework, get yourselves a good car and enjoy it, because you know, that's what they're there for. They're not going to build any more cars like this, are they? So we've got to preserve them, we've got to look after them, we've got to keep them on the road, and we've got to, you know, above all, enjoy them. I've enjoyed driving this one. I'm not sure what conclusions we've drawn, really, but as I say, I always enjoy these cars. I think they're great. I hope you've enjoyed the video too. If you have, then please like, please subscribe to the channel, because it helps us to grow it. We will have more content, similar content coming soon. If you want to see anything different, you know, put it in the comment section for me to have a look at, because this is all new to me. You know, we're in the very early stages, so I want to try and do the best job I can and give you guys some content you'll enjoy. So please, you know, put something in the comment section if there's things that you like, if there's things that you don't like, or if there's things you'd like to see, or things that you want me to do differently. I will try and read the comments and take all that on board. Thank you again. More content coming very soon, so as I say, like, subscribe, keep your eyes peeled, it'll be there. And until the next time, thanks for watching, guys. You take it easy.